Okay, and welcome on this video. No coincidence, you could have clicked on a different video. I think you're at the right video, the right time, with the right message. And all I'm doing is sharing my strength, hope and experience. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a specialist, neurologist, doctor, therapist, or how do you call it, a coach or something like that. This is just my own viewpoint, and everything that I'm saying in this video, it is completely okay to say no to it and you're able to click away. It's just a viewpoint. It's just from my experience of 32 years of research and restoration and a marvelous life, one day at a time. But basically this is all about the question whether which one was first, the chicken or the egg. And believe me, having studied and becoming a how do you say it, a certified self-development trainer, a master in techniques that will blow your mind actually, I'm able to say that the question is unfair, the question is wrong, the question is false, because it doesn't matter whether it's the chicken or the egg. It doesn't matter which one is first. You could have mind over matter or matter over mind, basically. So the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, will throw you in a state of doubt, in a state of ambivalence. Ambivalence means that you are confused, that you have both truth at the same time, meaning positive and negative at the same time, which is called the state of being ambivalent. So the question throws you in your head instead of in your heart, and that's the whole message of this message. And believe me, I also want to make sure that you are warned when you help people. Do not, please do not act like you're the magic healer, the world saver, or do not act as if you're the scientist or the, how do you say it, the holy solution. There's a lot more to it, and I'm going to explain that to you because there's a huge difference of people that are in denial. They know the truth but they deny it, they are lying, on purpose or not on purpose. That's the question. And there's also people that are completely in a diluted state of mind, disillusioned. And people that are disillusioned, they think what they say and do is the truth but isn't. And that's someone that is addicted, somebody that is addicted, truly addicted to whatever is running around this earth, this marvelous planet of ours, with the umbilical cord in one hand and its reproductive organ in the other hand, not knowing where to plug in what. So basically people that are very sick, addictive people with addictions that are seemingly deadly, which they aren't unless you continue using that which is addictive. But there is a solution, and let me just analyze the problem first. How to slip into an addiction, the anatomy of an addiction. And that's my own observation, that's my own conclusion of like 32 or 33 years having to find out, to save my own bacon, to save my own life. Okay, so let me run through the problem first. The problem, meaning the anatomy of the addiction, is very simple. Step one, you experience some fear. It doesn't matter what kind of fear, whether it's a firecracker exploding next to your ear a little loud, or maybe you have parents that are fighting or shouting, or maybe you see some horrible pictures on the television, or maybe you are physically, mentally, sexually abused. Perhaps you are afraid of the government, or you're being bullied. Whatever fear is very easy to come by, and everybody experiences fear. Now when your fear is becoming so strong, or you are taking it the wrong way. It's also mostly up to your own your own experience of that fear. Some people they ignore it. Some people it's a huge impact. It depends on the second, on a lot of other factors. But fear actually creates a state of unmanageability. Literally, due to fear, your life will become unmanageable. And step two, when that happens, you automatically take on false identities in order to protect your inner self, your higher self, your real source being. So step one, fear, which makes life unmanageable. Then you take on false identities that in order to protect yourself. Obviously, if somebody or something is threatening you, real or imagined, you take on identities in order to protect yourself. Very, very natural, organic state of, following order of events. Then step number three, you become self-reliance instead of relying on your intuition, on the, how do you say it, the godlike state of being. Instead of relying on that, instead of relying on the higher power, you start to rely on yourself. You start to make the journey from your heart, which feels intuitively what you need to do, to your head. You start thinking from those false identities. To protect yourself, you start thinking instead of feeling. And then step four of the anatomy of addictions, and believe me, this is my own experience. This is not a scientific study. This is how I experienced it, and later on, afterwards, was able to describe it in these step-like, how do you say it, experiences. But then step four, after you start to rely on yourself and start to rely on your own will, and traveling from your heart to your head, you become a thinking individual. A lot of intellectual people, they are thinkers, they forget to feel. That's why you have some professors that go mad. They totally end up in their head instead of in their heart. And then step four is from those self-reliant head-like identities, you upset others. And you don't necessarily do that on purpose, but you upset others because you are a protective identity, an entity. You become somebody that you're not really are, but you are playing this role in order to protect your inner self, your childlike, God-given energy, your identity behind your identity, the I behind the ego. And then once you upset others, from defense, you become very defensive. A lot of people, you must have noticed, a lot of people that are afraid, they bark like dogs. They bark. Or we. Let's keep it close to ourselves. But we, when we are self-reliant and when we have false identities, we tend to be upset. We tend to be defensive. We tend to upset other people by being loud, by being proud, by being gluttonous, by being jealous, by being, well, you name them, the seven sins, whether it is lust or you name the seven sins, fame, how do you say it, vanity. You start to create identities from where you literally practice offensive behavior, offensive words, offensive mind-like barking to others, and you're upsetting others. Now they react, people react, obviously, most people react, and now the reverse psychology starts to happen, because you upset other people as an addictive individual, as a fearful individual that are taking on false identity. You upset other people, and then they react, and you become self-centered. You become self-centered. You really think the whole world depends on you. The whole world. You are the. self-centeredness is the next stage of selfishness, and this is my own conclusion. Okay, I have studied psychology enough to say that selfishness is one state of of an ego kind of person, but self-centeredness is the next step. Really, that you believe that that you are the center of the world, which is called self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. Most people, and I'm saying most carefully because I know all people that are addicted, that go through these steps, become self-centered instead of selfish. Selfish is a lighter state of egocentristic. So now they react from your self-centered behavior, words, or sometimes not doing certain things. So by lack of behavior or taking responsibility or upsetting people from your own self-centeredness, defensive attitude, you upset other people, they react, and now in step 6 you start blaming them. Can you see that the tables are turned now? You start to upset people from fear, from false identities. They react, and then you blame them out of justification. And then in step 7 you walk around with resentments towards others, towards other people, towards how do you say it, principles or organizations. Most people with an addiction or with these states of minds, they always point fingers. You know, you become the victim instead of the perpetrator. You forgot all about that you started the problem, and you become literally resentful, self-loathing individual. You blame others. You justify your behavior. You justify your lack of responsibility by being you become resentful and full of self-loathing, self-criticism. Now, resentment is a word derived from Latin, which you could split into two parts. As in reoccurring, and sentiment comes from the Latin word santere. Santere literally means feeling. So you have hateful feelings that keep continuing. Now you are a resentful individual, and then because you don't know the anatomy, you don't know the way back, you don't know how to reverse psychologically solve this problem, then you also start to blame yourself. Now you're walking around as a resentful individual, full of self-loathing, and that's the real cause of addiction. Addictive people think that the problem is cocaine or alcohol or too much fat or chocolate or porn or whatever you're addicted of, all these wonderful, quick, short solutions to the real problem. The real source, the real cause is resentment and self-loathing. I mean, the real cause is fear, obviously. You must have noticed from this video, but resentment and self-loathing is the real cause of addiction. And once you're full of resentment and self-loathing, self-criticism, you keep on harming everything and everyone constantly. It continues in step 8. In step 8 you continuously start to harm everything and everyone. You become a real entity, person that is completely off the straight and narrow path. How do you say? You completely become deranged. You become separated from society and from truth and from reality. So in step 8, from those resentments and self-loathing, self-criticism, you keep on harming everything and everyone else. And step 9, you end up hating everything and everyone. That's it. You end up hating everyone and everything, including yourself. And in step 10, you become self-righteousness, whether you become a terrorist or a criminal. You become completely self-righteousness and delusional. The delusional as in really thinking and acting as if you know the truth, but you don't. You literally have lost all sense of reality. Now you're addictive Now you're completely addictive to the quick fix substance like cocaine or heroin or alcohol or whatever you use to get the quick fix, to get the quick feeling of freedom, which is completely short-term based. And then in step 11, life is completely run on self-will, on self-will identities and thoughts, and now they become entities. Entities are identities that you don't have any more grasp on. Most addictive people, they have tics, or you can see in their behavior that they shake, or they are twitching their heads, or they are able, or we are able to get thousands of mental, physical, spiritual diseases from substance abuse, and now you are walking around like a zombie, like an entity. Entity is another word for an identity that is lost in creation. You don't have access anymore to the original identity, and now you become an entity. An entity really is another word for zombie. Look it up. Look all these difficult jargon words up on Google or whatever, and do keep counseling and listening to the people that are that are trying to help you. This is just my own strength, hope, and experience. And then eventually in step 12 of the anatomy of addiction, and I tried to cram it all in 12 steps for a reason, because obviously I will also give you the solution, the 12 steps originally created by the founders of AA, but it's possible to use it for any other life hack, so to speak. But eventually in step 12 you become fully powerless. You become powerless. Your inner source, the God Almighty feeling of being one with, you lose. You become fully powerless, and you live hell on earth, and you become completely lonely, and loneliness to the state that you become suicidal or homicidal even, or both, not in that following order, because that's impossible obviously. So here you go, the problem freely exaggerated, or freely explained in 12 steps, the anatomy of addiction, and see if you relate to it. Try to keep an open mind, see if you relate to it, because I'll tell you one thing. Once you, and this video is probably titled with the title MOREMITO, because we have a marvelous product that will restore your mind, gives you a spiritual experience, and restores your health on the level of mitochondrion restoration. With other words, it's a special uptake system that literally is able to bring ingredients, 42 nanotized ingredients, straight to your cells, straight to the level of your DNA, in order to restore your health. But do not use it as a quick fix solution, because I do believe that once you use that, instead of really taking the way back by taking full responsibility of all your creations, you may end up being addicted to that instead of truly restoring. Okay, let's forget the word healing. This is no medical claim. So basically, once you can identify with the problem, the anatomy of addiction, step 1, fear and unmanageability. Step 2, false identities, protection. Step 3, self-reliance, heart to head. Step 4, upsetting others, becoming defensive. Step 5, they react, and you become self-centered. And then step 6, you blame them by justification. And then step 7, you end up being a resentful and self-loathing individual. Step 8, you harm everything and everyone, including yourself. And step 9, you hate everything and everyone instead of including yourself. And then step 10, you become self-righteousness, delusional. And the 11th step literally ends up with you having a life on self-will instead of entities. You become a walking head. And then step 12, obviously, you end up fully powerless and you end up living hell on earth, completely lonely. And believe me, I've been there, done that. I experienced every state that I mentioned in this video. And the danger is that when you have a substance that is the solution, that can be the solution temporarily, you may not be willing to take the way back. Now, let's get into the solution. And the solution, the classical solution, the 12 steps of originally AA, and again, the founders of AA, they had it from other influences, believe me. But anyway, these are the 12 steps of recovery, which is a reverse psychology compared to the other 12 steps of the problems that I just mentioned. And believe me, do take a creative approach on this. This is no dogma. I don't try to indoctrinate you. I do not try to become your sponsor, your upline guru, your therapist, your NLP indoctrination, mass hysteria course giver. This is not part of the secrets. You don't have to purchase anything. You don't have to sit in a $3,600 or $9,000 Florida hallelujah to the guru billionaire mass hysteria NLP indoctrination event. This is just a viewpoint. This is just my own experience, strength and hope in order to hopefully make you do both. Do the 12 steps of recovery as well as in whatever anonymous organization, as well as also using the marvelous products of MOREMITO. So that's why I say it doesn't matter whether it's the chicken or the egg. You can approach it both or do the same, do both at the same time, as far as I'm concerned. And if there were any ingredients in Restore 3.0, which is the new formula of MOREMITO, then I wouldn't recommend it, wouldn't use it, wouldn't be able to use it. It would be my death. Okay, so it's a matter of try or die. So now, in short, just to give you an idea of how the 12 steps recovery are being practiced in a lot of anonymous organization. The first step is that we admitted we were powerless over, and then fill in the substance, whether it's alcohol, drugs or cocaine, chocolate, sex, porn, you name it. You could also fill in your current partner. So we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, powerless over drugs, powerless over my father-in-law, powerless over my wife, my husband, my lover, whatever. Once you admit you're powerless over something, and that therefore your life had become unmanageable, that's step one. Once you admit we are powerless over fill in the blank, and that our lives had become unmanageable, that's step one. You'll find out that once you do this first step completely, a big, how do you say it, a big weight will fall off your shoulder. Okay, admitting powerlessness gives you power, funny enough. The moment, that's why some people, when they complain, they are relieved. Okay, but once you admit powerlessness, and that's the reason why your life is unmanageable, you actually start opening your mind again. And then step two, classically, and this is just copied of the 12 steps of AA, for example, but the second step is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Can you see that now there's a power greater than your own mind, than your own ego, than your own self-willed thingamajigger? Once you came to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity, you have practiced step two. In however way, and believe me, I should add that it doesn't matter what you believe the power is, as long as you believe that there is a power greater than yourself that can restore you to sanity, which is step two. And if you have a hard time getting an example of a power greater than yourself, you could look at snowflakes or raindrops or the wind. Who made the wind? You know, who is that power that makes all the planets go around, or that created existence. What is that kind of power? That's definitely a power greater than ourselves. So be creative about step 2. And then at least now having admitted step 1 and that's the reason why your life is unmanageable, and you came to believe that a power, some power, even though you don't know or haven't experienced the power yet, that is able to restore you to sanity, then step 3 is actually the first step of real action. Step 3 is made a decision, that's still the mind, to turn your will and your life, which is your action and your entire thoughts, over to the care of, now the word God is being used. I put a little asterisk in the word God because that's something that the moment you speak about it, it's gone already. But made a decision, step 3, made a decision to turn your will and your lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. As we understood Him makes the big difference between separating religious organizations and being all encompassing. With other words, as you understand Him, as we understand Him, then it's able to become your own experience. So making a decision and I use believe me a lot. I'm not trying to indoctrinate you, but how I actually was taught to practice this is to do it in 4 different areas. 1, making a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as we understand it. 1, pick a time when to do it. Pick a person who you want to do it with, what you call somebody that is a witness, whether that's your priest, your husband, your spouse, your wife, somebody that you trust, a friend. Maybe it's somebody from a 12-step organization, which you may call your sponsor, whatever. So you pick a time and you choose a person as a witness to do it with. And then thirdly, you create some sort of a how do you say it, a method, whether it's by prayer or you make it into a ritual. So make up a ritual that is important to you, whether that is burning some incense, lighting a candle, or sitting by the fire, or in an Indian teepee, or under a certain tree, or in an environment where you feel sort of like really special. So pick a time, choose a person to do it with as a witness, and create a ritual in order to really give your will and your life over to that which you may not understand yet, which we call a power greater than ourselves, with other words, God. And God is just a term to describe something that is not describable. Okay, so the 4th element of step 3 could be that you have a time, you have a person, you have a ritual, and now you also pick a location. So you have the time, you make a decision of when to do it, with whom to do it, how to do it, the ritual, and where to do it. Those are the four elements of step 3. And these are just suggestions, okay? They help me doing it. They help me making it more touchable, more finite instead of infinite, instead of this pie in the sky kind of thought step. So pick a person, pick a time, a ritual, and the location. And I actually did it with using a piece of paper, folding it twice, so you have four areas, and then in each area of the four the 4 divided areas of this one piece of paper, I wrote down when I wanted to do it, in the second part whom I wanted to do it with, the third part what the ritual was, the words and the environment, and the environment and the sphere, the environment, the ritual, and then in the 4th part of this piece of paper I wrote down where to do it. So that's step 3. Those are just some suggestions, okay? It may save your ass. Step 1 done 100%. Step 2, 3, you can still fool anybody with it, but do it so that that is meaningful for you. As long as you really mean it, you'll have a real experience, a real, you start to create a spiritual experience, which is what enlightenment is all about. Now, it is being recommended, and please buy, for example, a big book. It's a couple of dollars. Buy a big book of AA and read the entire book, because in there these steps are being described in many ways, very creative, and with lots and lots of stories of real people that have recovered. And then basically it is being recommended to do step 4 immediately after step 3. So now that you are of the mindset, you're humbled by doing the first 3 steps. You're now in the hands of God, so to speak. You're in the hands of the universal power, however you experience it. Then you're able to be open-minded to do step 4, which is a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself, which is a rigorous inventory in 3 parts. It is being described in the big book, very particular, and do it the way it is being described in there, because I've seen a lot of crap with 4-step inventory methods where people are actually ending up worse, because it is when you don't do step 1, 2 and 3 proper, and you're not taking step 4 with a humble approach, with a complete open mind, it's really being completely vulnerable, you're not able to do a rigorous inventory. You start slipping into your ego again, and actually your addiction is becoming worse instead of you're opening up your mind to looking for the real causes of your addiction. So may the searching and fearless moral inventory is described to do it in 3 parts, and do it like that. And if you need help with that, just ask me or ask anybody that you trust, that you have the feeling that did it properly. And I've seen a lot of creative ways to do it. So again, there is no dogma. There's many ways to do it, but do it properly. And the first inventory you do is to make an inventory of all your resentments, and you write down all the people, the institutions, the ideas, the principles that somehow affected you. That's the first column. You write down everyone that you think harmed you, and probably did. The people and the circumstances and the principles, the laws, the rules, they really harmed you. So for the first time you're able to really be a victim. Write them down, one below each other, and then in the second column behind that you write down why you were hurt by those individuals, by those principles, by those laws, by those institutions, and so on and so forth. So now you have who and why, and then behind that who and why you write down how it affected you. How did those circumstances, those people, those events, those experiences affected you? And then you're meant to write down how it affected you in your 4 basic instincts. Your 4 basic instincts that need to be in place, that need to be properly in place, are 1, your sexual personal relations, 2, your ambitions, 3, your self-reliance, the way you think about yourself, and 4, your safety. Safety means your shelter, food, clothing, your education, the money, the protection of some sort of a protector, and so on and so forth. So your 4 basic instincts were basically harmed by the person you wrote down in the first column, or the circumstances that you wrote down in the first column, or the institutions, or the principles that you wrote down in your first column. So now you have 3 columns: who, why, and in the third column you write behind every circumstance how that affected you. And slowly but surely, because it's a fact that the 4 basic instincts, again, your sexual personal relations, your ambition, your self-reliance, your self-image, and your safety, must be completely in order to be whole, in order to be sane. Sane is another Latin word for sane. Sane means whole, being spiritually, mentally, physically whole. And in order to be whole, to be sane, all these four basic instincts need to be in place, need to be okay, need to be completely uh, completely completely available in your life. So you need to have a whole life in order to be sane, in order to have a good life. And if one of those or all four of those basic instincts are harmed by the people, institutions, or experiences that you wrote down in the first column of the fourth step, then you're not insane. You're insane. You're not sane, but you're insane. So now slowly but surely you can see that the circumstances, the events, the abuse, the laws, the regulations really are able to kill you, literally, because if one of the four basic instincts are not in order, you start to be insane, and from insanity you take you literally take on those identities again, and you start this 12-step anatomy of becoming addictive, and eventually you use stuff, you use substances like alcohol, drugs, and whatever, and you become addictive to the substances that gives you a quick release. And the substances like alcohol or drugs or whatever are so addictive that you now are becoming addictive of the stuff as well as the chemical imbalance. So now you are literally going downwards. The spiral is going downwards. So this whole fourth step, searching and fearless moral inventory, is literally writing it down. Do not do this in your head. This is not a theory. Write it down. It's literally being suggested that after you do step 1, 2, and 3, you immediately start writing this inventory process that I'm describing. And there's many ways of showing you how to do it and guiding you. And don't do it alone. Don't go in your mind alone. Don't go into a dangerous neighborhood on your own. It is literally, it is really being suggested to do it with someone that did it as well, because that person is being able to stay objective instead of you doing it on your own. And before you know it, you start to rationalize and make. Some people start saying, okay, I want to write a book or a play or a movie script. Well, forget it, then you're already in ego. This is not, the fourth step, searching and fearless moral inventory, is not an ego trip. It is literally for you, you on you, and for the first time you're writing down the entire way how your consciousness has been victimized by these individuals, the people, the circumstances, the events. Yet it doesn't stop there, because once you wrote down who, why, and how it affected you, it is being asked to forgive, to forgive those persons that harmed you, to forgive the circumstances, the institutions, to forgive. And forgiveness, you must have heard, forgiveness is the key to life. Once you're able to forgive those who harmed you, however horribly they harmed you, because you may have literally been physically abused or kidnapped or raped, or horrible stuff could have happened to you. But once you learn how to forgive, you actually set yourself free. So forgiving others also is able to forgive you, not forgive yourself, but you're able to set yourself free for a moment. The moment you forgive the other people and see the other people's circumstances and everything that is on your first column in your fourth step, once you see that those people or the circumstances or the state of the world is sick too, you become softer. You start to see the world and the people that did you harm as sick instead of bad, which is a big difference. Okay, forgiveness is all about starting to feel the other side, to really enter into the other side, as if as if, you know, in a big church bell, there's something that hits the sides of the of the of the bell in order to make it ring. Well, for the first time, your that which makes the bell ring goes to the other side. For the first time, you start to be compassionate again for the other people that they were probably sick as well. I had to do it. I was abused as a young child, and I literally had to purposely, forcefully forgive the other people, the other person, because I was about to commit homicide and suicide. But thanks to forgiveness, I was able to see that person as a sick individual. And I hope you take the time to listen to methods how to forgive, how to do it. You could literally take 1 second of your day in order to maybe start to pray for the person that actually did you wrong, or pray for the circumstances, or send them positive energy the way you have been receiving positive energy of the people that are helping you at the moment. So forgiveness literally is the difference between life and death. People that are forgiveful, that are able to be open for methods how to forgive, they have life again. They actually start being compassionate beings again, instead of die-hard addictive entities that do nothing else but kill, kill, harm, harm, shout, shout, bark, bark. So in the process of making a searching and fearless moral inventory, the first thing you do is making a fearless and moral inventory about your resentments in these 3 columns. And then once you see that the circumstances, the people can really kill you, you do forgiveness, and then your real inventory starts. It doesn't stop there. Once you do the first column, the who, the second column, why, third column, how it affected you, and then you start forgiving, you are able to do the side that was your transgression. Now you can literally, after forgiving, you are open to take your inventory, because until now the first 3 columns really was an inventory of other people, other circumstances, other principles. So now, after forgiving, and do it one case at the time. Take your time, or do it quickly, because the quicker the better, and the more rigorous you do this, the freer you feel. But now that you've seen that the other circumstances, the people, whatever, are sick instead of bad, and you're able to forgive them, you become what they call compassionate again. You are now able to write down your own transgressions, your own faults. So now, having left the victim side, you're able to write down your own shortcomings, transgressions, faults, how do you say it, sins. They're all the same word. They're different words for the same thing. Actually, what you're now able to do is write down your own behaviors, your own shortcomings, your own faults, your own sins that really triggered this whole addictive anatomy. And just an example, and the two questions that I'm giving you right now may make the difference between life and death, may make the difference between you actually surviving this horrible state of addiction or not. And the 2 questions that you may ask yourself in this part of the inventory, which is just part 1 of the 3-step inventory process. It's a real rigorous process. But the two questions that you may ask yourself in order to find out what your own shortcomings were that triggered this whole situation is: 1, what did I do what have I done that I shouldn't have done? That's one question. Write it down. What should I have done? What did I do that I shouldn't have done? And what did I not do? No, wait a minute. The 2 questions in order to trigger yourself, to trigger your own faults, are: 1, what did I do that I should not have done? And 2, What did I not do what I should have done? Those are the two questions that when you ask yourself that in a state of complete humbleness, the step 1, 2, 3 makes you humble, makes you open-minded. Once you ask the two questions, what should I have done, what I didn't have done, what I didn't do, what did I do, what I shouldn't have done, it will give you certain answers that actually you are fault of. Now you can literally see what you did from that state of being disillusioned in order to upset the other person or the other circumstances. And now you basically are making each individual case, you go with answering those questions. Basically what ends up is you end up with a list of your sins, of your shortcomings, your transgressions, your faults, whatever you call them. You end up with a list of that which you are guilty of. Guilty as in now you see it. You can't be guilty if you don't see it. So now it's a hard reality. For some it's a shock, but now you start to really find now you're really in the solution part of it. And once you've seen your shortcomings, there's a next part of the inventory process in step 4 that you do a similar inventory process on all your fears. Just write down all your fears, even though they have no resentments and they have no self-criticisms. So for example, I wrote down I have a fear of heights, but I don't hate skyscrapers, or I don't have any resentments for architects or something like that, but I did fear heights, so I wrote down the fear of height. So also write down all your fears, the fear of dying, or the fear of lions, or the fear of whatever. Write down fears, a list of fears that are not linked to any resentments or self-loathing, self-criticism. That's the second part of the step 4 searching and fearless moral inventory of the 12 steps of, for example, AA. Now then, the third part of the inventory process, so first you did the 4 columns on the resentments. Now secondly, you made the list of fears. And thirdly, you make an inventory, you do an inventory process like the resentment inventory process, but now on sexuality. So you take every single sexual experience that you ever had and do the exact same 4-column inventory that you did with the resentments. And that's step 4 of the 12 steps of recovery, the reverse psychology process. And I do believe that once you listen to this carefully, what I'm saying in this video, you start seeing that just taking a substance to make you right short term may not be the solution, because perhaps you're just masking this kind of reverse psychology. Be careful, okay? So that's why I made this video. And then step 5, once you have literally discovered all your faults, you admit them to God Almighty. Let me just for my own sake, okay, I'm very careful with the word God because I don't want to upset anybody. I'll just do this. So you admit those faults that you found out in step 4 to the Almighty, whatever, however you experience that, and also to another human being. So that's like yeah, like in religious terms they call that yeah, they literally call it a confession. So once you find out the real faults of yourself in step 5, you admit them to God Almighty, to your higher power, to yourself, and to another human being. So you're doing your confession, so to speak, in three ways. So step 5 reads: admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. as a result of having done step 4 properly. And step 6, and you can also do it, how do you say it, buffet style, okay? Do a little bit of step 8 before you do step 1. This is just a following order that I do suggest doing it, but if you want to play with it, go play with it. Be creative, and I have no idea what your mind is or how your mind is. These are just suggestions that when you do it in these following order properly and correctly and with someone that did them as well, I promise you a complete new life. Okay, now step 6, after you've admitted to God, yourself, and to another human being the exact nature of your wrongs, of our wrongs, then step 6, we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. This is just a step of willingness. Of the step 6 is actually a preparation for step 7, and step 6 literally means you're willing to have those defects of character being removed. You're actually putting your crap into a garbage bag, and you're now in step 7 humbly ask Him, the higher power, to remove your shortcomings. So you ask God Almighty, the universal power, however you describe it or experience it, to actually remove your garbage, and you will get a spiritual experience. Doing this the way I described it here, and I'm saying that from my own experience, this is my own strength, hope, and experience that I'm explaining to you from gratitude, you will experience lightness. You will experience you will start having a spiritual experience. Now step 8 as the next step is to make a list of all persons you have harmed, and became willing to make amends to them all. Now actually the list is made, because step 4 is the list. Okay, all the people, all the circumstances, all the institutions are already on step 4. So now you're taking the list of step 4, you make a list of all persons you have harmed, and you are willing, again, step 8 is a preparation for step 9, you are willing to make amends, to make things well. And it is literally doing, it is being suggested to do step 8 as a preparation for step 9. So step 6 is the willingness to do step 7, step 8 is the willingness to do step 9. So step 6 is the mind state of the mind, step 7 is the action. Step 8 is the mind preparation in order to do step 9, because step 9 you really make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I, for example, went up to somebody, and by me thinking I was ready to make amends, I wasn't humble enough yet. I actually harmed the person more than I did well, and I had to end up doing the steps again in order to be more humbled, because I mean I harmed certain individuals that the way I made amends was just self-righteousness, and it was actually making it worse instead of making it better. So step 9, you go out there and you make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And believe me, anything has happened, there's a solution to it. There are physical, there are mental, there are spiritual solutions to anything horrible that you have committed due to your addictions, due to your entity state of delusional minds, delusional being. So there's plenty examples, for example in the big book, or go to meetings and listen to examples. This may save your life, okay? This may save your life to find out that you're obviously walking around with a lot of guilt, shame and remorse, because that's what the last column in step 4 will show you. It will show your guilt, shame and remorse, and you're walking around with a lot of guilt, shame and remorse. That's why step 6 and 7 is very important, to get rid of your guilt, shame and remorse, and be willing to make upright amends from out of a state of source being, instead of from a guilt, shame and remorse state of being, because then you only start doing more harm. But there is a way to make amends to anything, for everything that you ever experienced, and I've done a lot of stuff that I thought I wasn't able to set right, but it is possible. And there's methods to it, and we'll help you with it. And then step 10, once you're doing this, step 10 you're able to do while you're doing the other steps. You continue to take personal inventory, you continue to do the process 1 to 9, and when you're wrong, you promptly admit it. So you don't necessarily have to wait until you are 3 weeks down the road feeling guilt, shame, and remorse again. Though you are aware of the wrongs that you're doing, and the moment you do something wrong, you promptly admit it and you stop it. By admitting it, you stop it. And then step 11 is a growth step, and it could be done while you're doing the other steps. Is you sort through prayer and meditation, and I must admit I have to add this creation methods to improve our consciousness with God Almighty as we understood Him, because I'll promise you that the moment you do step 5, you are experiencing a spiritual experience. You are experiencing something spiritual that you probably have forgotten from childhood. You literally start walking hand in hand with the higher power again, as being a newborn individual. Once you do step 5 properly, and you admit your wrongs to another human being, God Almighty, and yourself, you are now again God's children, so to speak. You're free. You're enlightened completely. Steps 6 through 12 are the making good steps and maintenance and growth steps. So step 10 says continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. And step 11 is sort through prayer, meditation, and all kinds of methods. And I must recommend you to do this creation methods, which is an art on itself. I'm a master in those techniques to improve your consciousness, to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. Praying only for knowledge of His will, or its will, whatever. Nowadays you have to be careful with those words as well. Of His will for us, and the power to carry that out, to become intuitive again. That is a marvelous step. Step 11 you can continue for the rest of your life, because growth is unlimited. And then step 12, which is a step in 3 parts. Having had a spiritual awakening as part 1, as the results of these steps, we try to carry the message, step 2, the second part of step 12. So having had a spiritual awakening as the results of these steps, which is a promise, we try to carry the message to the same sufferers, to those who are like-minded, to have the same addiction. And please do not cross-sponsor, because, oh my gosh, stick to the people that have suffered the same substance abuse than yourself, and to practice these principles in all our affairs, okay? Those are the 3 parts of step 12, to literally connect step 12 to step 1 again. So step 12, the 3 parts is 1, having had a spiritual experience as the result of these steps. 2, part 2, we try to carry the message to the same sufferers. And then the 3rd part of step 12 is to practice these principles, the principles of 1 through 11, in all your affairs. And the word try, the try is being put in there to make sure that we are humans. Perfection is something to be careful about it. Now, I made this video because I'm very worried that a lot of people promote, see, or use MOREMITO Restore 3.0, which is a magnificent product, as an alternative to people that are truly addictive. Be careful with that. Please consider this video as thinking about that twice, okay? There are people that are so delusional and so far off that when you administer or let them use Restore 3.0 and they stop using it, they may fall back into horrible suicidal, homicidal, and deadly processes again. So that's it. So try or die. If you really want to know how to recover, you're more than welcome to see more videos on this YouTube channel. Consult or contact the person that brought you to this video. He or she, I believe, has the best intentions. Please learn about new mitochondrion nanotechnology health formulas. It is amazing. It's truly amazing. I do believe it's a God's gift. Thank you so much, Dr. Bevan Elliott and the CEO. Dr. Bevan Elliott's new UltraMito Restore 3.0 formula is now available. Season's greetings. You're able to order it. You're able to click links below this video or order it with the person by registering for free. No mandatory purchases. Earn with your own link without buying. How cool is that? You're able to earn with your own link without buying when you're short of cash in order to earn enough credit to purchase it yourself. And no mandatory weekly or monthly guilt, shame and remorse orders. No fuzz or weird upsells. More effective than CBD, CBDA and or THC oil. And let me be careful with that because this is definitely no claim. 100% organic and plant-based. Unique nanotechnology absorption technology created by Dr. Bevan Elliott. It's a special absorption technology that brings the 42 ingredients straight to your cells, to your DNA, on your DNA level. So bye-bye very expensive, way overpriced, how do you say it, supplements that will get lost in your intestines and your stomach, basically. Works at cell and DNA level, generous profits and team commissions, and everyone keeps using it until now. Actually, people are choosing the most expensive delivery methods in order to get it and to reordering it. That's how good it is now. A better testimonial you can't get. And it's marketable worldwide. The logistics are made. The company is very well organized, and you're able to market this worldwide to most companies in the world, and almost God in a bottle. And I'm saying that with the utmost care, with a pinch of salt, and not to upset people. Now join for free and earn without purchasing yourself. No ownership requirements, etc. No tricks, no games, no gimmicks. And as a disclaimer, just to make sure that we keep those people with those funny wigs and black robes off our tails. No promises, no guarantees. Make a free will decision. Do not use money you can't miss. Take care of your basic needs and those who you love first. Consult others, please do so, for educational purpose. This video is for educational purposes only, and the amounts mentioned or the results mentioned are only examples. This is not financial advice, no medical advice, no scientific advice. Results depends on your own efforts, and I do not take any responsibility of the results you get of MOREMITO / the results you get from my suggestions in my videos, podcasts, publications, etc. Please do live, but one day at a time. Season's greetings. Right time, right team, right products. Click links below right away and start for free. No mandatory no mandatory purchases. Christmas 2023, super healthy and financially free. It's up to you, and please use the law of attraction by being grateful for that which is not here yet. So be grateful for the person that you would like to become, even though you're not it yet. And be grateful for the circumstances that you would like to live in, even though your circumstances suck at the moment. And be grateful for the material wealth, the fun stuff that you would like to enjoy, even though you don't have that yet. And that's how you practice the law of attraction, by just being grateful. It saved my life, okay? I was literally taught how to be grateful for one toenail because I was so suicidal that somebody that had the best intentions with me, and that was actually one of my my fighting mates. He taught me how to be grateful again, and it saved my life. So be grateful. Gratitude is the attitude. It's a matter of life and death. Life with a capital L and death with a small d. And grateful people are always happy, healthy, wealthy, and useful. The opposite is also true and extremely dangerous and deadly. Christmas 2023, super healthy and financially free. And then I'll see you and yours, and I hope this picture suits you, in the most wonderful resorts and in the most beautiful top hotels worldwide and on the most beautiful beaches of the world, because that lifestyle is there for you too, and you're more and more than worth it. God bless. Check you later, one day at a time.